Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Got a little bit of everything going on today. Looking ahead to maybe one free agent target. Talk a little college hoops. Big time showdown at Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow. We'll have Rob Doster from the Field of 68 join us in a half hour to break down a little bit more on KU BYU and specifically DeBonsa versus Peterson and their pro outlook. We'll talk a little Mizzou hoops with him as a Missouri Tiger team on the bubble. Of course, what does he think is going to happen with Jerome Tang? So we'll talk a little about college basketball. We'll also mix in some baseball today as we were looking at the spring training schedule and stuff. We are like 20-something days or so, roughly away from the first spring training game.
Woo! Baseball's around the corner. And spring training games, I get it. There's only so much we can read into that, and there's a bunch of baseball players you've never heard of playing in games, but at least it'd be back. And because the Chiefs season ended so soon, now I'm really looking forward to baseball. Normally, I don't have to wait. Normally, it goes football ends, immediately March Madness, baseball's here, and we just roll. And now we've had to kind of wait a little bit, kind of a slow trickle, as it were.
We will have Fan Club Friday, as always, on a Friday, 1 o'clock hour, presented by Jay Rieger & Co. We will have Nate Taylor joining us from ESPN. So we'll talk some Chiefs with him.
But some regular life stuff, too. Regular Fan Club.
It's been a little while since we had Nate Taylor join us on the show. Plus, yes, this week, Andy Reid spoke, Eric Bieniemy spoke, so we'll find out what stood out from Nate Taylor. You guys can always interact with us on the Jay Southland Tow Service text line 913-586-7965 video stream up and running here in just a bit. We're working on that. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. So if you're not on there yet, we'll get that going. I had some technical issues with some of that, but we'll get that up as soon as possible. I do want to start with the Chiefs, and I think a name that we will hear plenty as we get close to free agency. My question is, do you agree with Carrington on Mike Evans? Because I was driving home yesterday, and I caught them talking about Mike Evans a little bit, and I think Carrington said that should be a clear target and a point of emphasis for the Chiefs in the offseason is to go acquire somebody like Mike Evans. Now, he's a free agent, so we're not talking about a trade or anything like that. And
that certainly helps.
That definitely makes it more realistic. And I think we all reckon that Mike Evans has had a Hall of Fame career. If you look at what he's been able to do with a variety of quarterbacks while a wide receiver down at Tampa, and there's some reports out of Tampa that it is less than a 50% chance he returns to the Bucs. So that perhaps he wants to go finally play for a real contender. He turns 33, though, in August 21st, so right before the start of the season. He will be playing the full year at age 33. He's someone that this year only got into 8 games, had injuries, hamstring injuries throughout the year, 368 yards. The year before that, and every year prior to this year, though, he was a 1,000-yard receiver for 11 straight years. This was the first year he was not that. But he has only played in 14 and 8 the last 2 years. I think that a lot of this is dependent on, are you getting him on a 1-year deal? Then you can sell me on it. 1-year deal, hard to disagree with any 1-year deal. Yeah. If it's a multi-year deal, I'm out. He'll be 33. Are we sure we're not starting to see the beginning of the end here with some injury history, something that is popping up for him?
So it really, on its premise, if you just say it, I'm like, well, I mean, yeah. We've been talking about all this time how they could use a legit wide receiver who knows what he's doing and understands the system and the game at play. Okay, well, that's Mike Evans. I mean, is there a more professional-ass wide receiver than Mike Evans? That's like numero uno. Show up, do the job, get 1,000 yards, go to bed. I mean, knows where to run routes, knows how to operate in a system. And I'll point out, last summer mentioned Kansas City as a possible landing spot for himself when he was talking about how he was heading back to Tampa.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking Houston, Kansas City. I love Pat Mahomes' game. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking those two teams, obviously, and I'm obviously thinking Bucs. So it would have been extremely hard if I hit free agency to leave here. Right. But this is where my family knows my kids were born here. Yeah. You know, my wife's been here a long time. She doesn't want to pack up and move everything. Right. So it was really her decision is the reason why I decided to stay. And she loves this place, and I obviously love this place. But when she gave me the go-ahead, we should stay here, no-brainer.
So Bucs fans should be thinking Ashley Evans is what you're getting to.
Always the wife. I'm trying to tell you.
I'm not saying that I would have chose somewhere else, but I was going to hit free agency. And then we were at dinner. She said, babe, I think we should stay in Tampa. Because she wasn't outspoken about it or nothing. She was letting me do the decision. And she said, I think we should stay in Tampa. And she never brought it up at all. So when she said that, I was like, oh, yeah.
So that was this past summer on NFL Network. He mentions Kansas City as a team maybe he was thinking about going to. And reports out of Tampa right now are again, that he's maybe less than 50% chance to return and he wants to be on a contender. I'll ask you guys a couple things. One, I told you I would be very skeptical about signing him anyway. But if you're Mike Evans, like you differ with me on this of where you think the Chiefs are in 2026, and we'll see what the whole offseason looks like, and maybe I'll change. I told you,
answer that if you're Mike Evans.
I view them as a team pushing for a playoff spot. I don't view the Chiefs, as of right now, as a team that I expect to immediately be a top 3 team in the AFC, just like that in 2026. So if you're Mike Evans, is Kansas City the best spot for you to go just try to get a ring? I know he has one already when Tom Brady was there, but to go get another ring, is Kansas City truly that spot? Like, and if you're the Chiefs, are you a Mike Evans away from being a Super Bowl contender? I disagree with both. I say no to both.
So I think that they can compete more. So some of that is relative. Is it if I made the 2026 Super Bowl odds right now?
I already know what they are offshore. They're 14-1 for the Chiefs.
Which makes them what? That's
7th best.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, they're statistically not the most likely. And I would say that not just because the number, not just because offshore odds say it.
Sure.
But because brains and logic. Here's where I could talk myself into Evans. One, I don't think it's going to be a long deal. And they've been trying these one-year wide receivers anyway, and worse versions of it, in my opinion. And guys like Hollywood Brown, Mike Evans is 10 times a receiver Hollywood Brown has ever been.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
And so, the fact that he could be there, here's where the swing is for me. If you tell me Travis Kelce retires, I'm in. I'm 100% in.
Okay.
Because now, that conversation we had yesterday of does your offense work if there's not a Travis Kelce type in it? If Mike Evans is there, it sure does. And there is a part of me, because of the way Rice and Xavier Worthy is good. And that a wide receiver core of Rice, Worthy, and Evans could be one of the better ones in the AFC. If Rice returns closer to the form that we've seen at his peak, and Xavier Worthy just bounces back a little, and Mike Evans maintains.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on the Travis Kelce point.
It's not crazy. The Kelce part really gets me intrigued.
That changes everything. Heck, it even changes, I think, how I would approach the draft. You know, we've been talking so much about defensive line, and that's my number one position to target as of right now without seeing free agency for the draft. But if you tell me Travis does not come back, even if we all kind of think he's leaning in that direction, well, then taking a Carnell Tate or a top wide receiver at 9, I have zero issue with. Hell, you could maybe even convince me a little bit more towards the running back route, even if you're talking about just needing to have playmakers in other positions. Mike Evans, I truly don't know, and we don't have the answer. He's the only one that knows this. Is he only looking for a 1-year deal? Do they believe somebody's willing to give him a 2-year deal that's that desperate? And I honestly don't know if the Chiefs are as attractive as a landing spot as they were a year ago, not to mention we still don't know if Mahomes is playing week 1. We don't.
No, we don't.
I hope so, but we don't know.
Matter of fact, we won't get a guarantee of that or even a sense of that
July
until
or August.
August 1st, probably. I mean, mid-July. Whenever they actually report to training camp is when the first questions will get asked of Andy Reid and Brett Veach and stuff. Like, hey, do you think Patrick Mahomes can be ready for game 1? Patrick Mahomes will get asked, do you think it's a possibility you are ready for week 1? And I still think they're helped by the fact, Gold, that the season actually starts quite a bit later than it felt like it has in recent years. So we get to almost mid-September before you would get to that Sunday night or Monday night football game that would include it. But if you're Mike Evans, look, even if you are down on the Chiefs roster a little bit, and I'm not saying they're one Mike Evans away, fundamentally, other than the safety play, their defense is not going to be dramatically different than the year before, and they still got Spags. So I think that they will be one of the more I think they'll be one of the better defenses in the AFC. I'm not saying they'll be the best, but they'll be one of the better defenses in the AFC from a performance standpoint. We don't have to talk about roster, I guess, necessarily.
But if you're Mike Evans, truly, and I know we're in Kansas City, and I get it, but if you're Mike Evans, would you rather go to New England? Would you rather go to Buffalo? You know, I mean, we know the teams. We can list them off, like teams that we've kind of viewed.
They need a wide receiver and have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl.
Are they closer? I mean, hell, the Patriots might win a Super Bowl here in a week. You know, so it's not even like, are they close? I mean, they might be back. They may be coming off of a championship. I don't know. Buffalo is tricky. I don't know. It's a brand new head coach, so I have no idea Mike Evans, if he has any relationship with Joe Brady, if he knows anybody that has a connection there and all that. That's something that none of us really have the answer to. I think it's really interesting on both sides of it. If you're the Chiefs, truly, how interested should you be? And then and the difference in the past, I think we never considered the player. We always just assume The Chiefs should go get that guy. And why wouldn't you want to come to Kansas City and play with Patrick Mahomes? I think this offseason's a little bit different. Not that there's some bottom barrel franchise all of a sudden. No. But they're certainly not what they were 2 years ago in terms of like where everybody across the board universally agrees that, oh, yeah, they're like the top team in the AFC.
Yeah.
That's not how they're going to be perceived. It doesn't mean they can't get there, but that's not how they're perceived heading into this offseason, and certainly not probably by the time we get to the start of the season. As I said, they have the 7th best odds right now to win the Super Bowl before the offseason even starts.
I do want to fight back on one thing because I see it over on the video streams and on the text line. And I think even Drew has said it maybe on the show once as a casual, like not even like, but like a throwaway comment, like, well, they tried that with DeAndre Hopkins and it didn't work. It worked with DeAndre Hopkins. Like I refute the idea that it didn't. I know they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they brought in DeAndre Hopkins in the middle of a season where they had, or did they win this? No, they didn't. In a year in which they had no wide receivers and desperately needed help. And he came in here and immediately averaged 60 yards a game and scored 5 touchdowns and was immediately rolled into the mix, despite the fact he was not the DeAndre Hopkins of old. And here's the other part, is that I still think Mike Evans probably has more in the tank than DeAndre Hopkins did at the time they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Because similar age, admittedly, they are 32 years old. Or he was 32 years old or 31 years old when he came to Kansas City. So it'd be similar as the Mike Evans thing. He's just one of the most consistent performers, and one of their biggest issues still is the red zone. And this is the part, I think sometimes we talk about it like it's only 20-20. Like Mike Evans has to come in here and be a 1,200-yard wide receiver to make it work. Where they need the help the most is the red zone. That's where Mike Evans has made his Hall of Fame career, I would argue, is that he's been consistent, but also that guy scores.
Yeah, he goes up against the football. I mean, look, if this was 28-year-old Mike Evans, is a completely different conversation. Would I like that style of wide receiver? Like as we talk about the draft, we talk about future free agents and things like that. That style of receiver, that's something they have not had, and that's absolutely the type of receiver you want. I'm just a little more skeptical, I guess, on bringing in a wide receiver that will be 33 by the time the season starts. In the last 2 years, while he had never really been injury-prone at all in his career, this year he only plays 8 games. The year before, and he plays in 14 games. He was productive still, but availability is a big thing, as we know. You just got done seeing a season where Rashee Rice missed the first 6 games with his own doing on the suspension. So to me, it's like there's 2 issues with
Kelsey's the swing guy.
There's 2 issues with Mike Evans. It's the Chiefs and whether or not you really should be interested, and then why would Mike Evans necessarily be interested in Kansas City? I think it's a problem on both ends for me. That's all.
Like you said, we've got a good mix of stuff today. We'll talk some football, baseball, college basketball. Rob Doster coming up in 15 minutes, and we'll talk about the massive matchup for Kansas and BYU with 2 of the top players in the country dueling it out at Allen Fieldhouse. Feels like
big
that's a
one
game
tomorrow, man.
Is Rob going? Are you going? Is Carrington going?
Well, Carrington, as a big KU fan, he probably will. Rob, I'm guessing it's his birthday too, so it seems like a perfect thing for him to do on his birthday.
Yeah.
I have other obligations. I got my weekend show till noon, and then a friend's birthday party. So
booked up, huh?
Yeah.
So no Kansas basketball for you.
I will not be at the Fieldhouse tomorrow.
So we'll talk some college basketball coming up here in about 15 minutes. I want to shift gears over to the Royals. David Leskey put an article up, and I think it was worthy of mentioning because the more and more I look at it, the more I think for the first time in a long time, the Royals actually have options. So it's a very simple question, which is who should and who will they have hit leadoff for the Royals this year? Because in previous years, they have been desperately seeking this gold and been honestly throwing nonsense at the wall in search of it. They gave up Brady Singer for Jonathan Indy and said, we got our leadoff guy. Here we go. He couldn't even make it through the end of the season as the leadoff guy. And when they made the transition, you had rightfully pointed out, when they had made Michael Garcia, who was having a great year at the time, the leadoff guy, before when he had hit leadoff, it had not gone great. And so now he hit leadoff well last year. So the question was there. I think they got 4 choices. I think they can hit Bobby Wood Jr. leadoff, and I think that's the longest of long shots. I'm just going to say it now. Based on things I've heard, I don't think Bobby Wood Jr. likes hitting leadoff.
They also have had multiple years to try that, and they really haven't done it. So why would I think now?
I'm just tossing it out there.
Yeah.
I don't think he likes hitting leadoff, but a lot of baseball teams would hit a guy like Bobby Wood Jr. first so he could get the maximum number of at-bats. He's fast. He doesn't do anything to your base paths. I want to bring his name up because it's one I think the Royals should consider, but if Bobby doesn't want to do it, I'm good. The other 3 are the most interesting for me, which are Isaac Collins, a guy who got on base a ton last year before the trade eventually to the Royals, Michael Garcia, who hit leadoff for this team last year, and I'd like to throw in a wild card, who might be, at the end of the year, one of the better on-base guys for the team, Carter Jensen. There was a team last year actually willing to hit a catcher leadoff because of how often they do it. Now with Salvi and Carter Jensen and the DH and the catching, maybe it doesn't work, but at least they have options this year.
Yeah, so the only issue with Carter Jensen there, I would say, how many games is he going to play in? Now, if he's hitting really well to start the season, they'll find a way to put him in the lineup. But in general, 100 games maybe or so, let's just call it that for now. And I don't believe he'll be the leadoff hitter because of that and the consistency. Now, if he gets off to a great start, as I said, they will find ways to have him in the lineup. I think it's really on that list, Cody, narrow it down to two. It's Isaac Collins or Maikel Garcia.
That's it for you?
To me, it's one of those two guys.
No kicking around anything else?
I think it'll be those two guys, as one of them will be the leadoff hitter on opening day.
I mean, look, Garcia had
My guess is Maikel.
Here's the thing, and this is the problem that they just have is like a projected Royals lineup anyway. They're still like really lefty heavy. So do you feel the need to get a guy like Collins at the top so that you have some shift or ability in that? I'm not saying it. Maikel Garcia has earned the job, and I understand it. But also, you could make an argument, because Maikel was, for him being a better middle-of-the-order guy than Collins is a middle-of-the-order guy. So while I understand that feels like you're just robbing one to do the other, Collins doesn't really Maikel doesn't hit a ton, but he hits more than Collins. Collins really hit a ton of homers. He's not really a run producer. I think.
Also, are we sure he's just definitively the starting left fielder? I mean, we're acting
I think he's going to be, but
I
guess it could be Lane Thomas.
That's what I'm saying. Is we don't know. I mean, that would be my only. And I get it. The same guy will not be the leadoff hitter for all 162 games. I understand that. We get that.
Yeah.
But
primary
is Isaac Collins going to have that big of a role? And this is where spring training will tell us the story on that pretty easily. How is he clearly the starting left fielder for this baseball team?
I think he's going to be a leadoff role in anyway. He's a guy who, when going well, does not have a high on base percentage. He just puts the ball over the fence. Isaac Collins had a 368 on base percentage. That would have been second on the team last year. That would have been ahead of Maikel Garcia. It had only been second to Bobby.
Yeah, it's between those two. I don't think Bobby's a candidate, and I don't think Carter Jensen's a candidate. So really, we're debating between Maikel Garcia and Isaac Collins, I think, for that particular spot, barring something shifting during spring training.
I think I can make and look, I think here's my argument for Isaac Collins. For the days in which he plays, let's say, Gold versus the Lane Thomas end, because we don't know how the shift will go. The argument I'd make for Isaac Collins is, if I made you guess right now who could be better at run producing, who could do a better job hitting behind Vinny or Salvi or those guys, if they get on base, who could do a better job getting them in? Isaac Collins or Maikel Garcia, based on the seasons and the careers.
Maikel Garcia is the answer, but
that's
But
where
if he's
platooning,
so I guess if he's platooning though, and I guess I don't think Isaac Collins is clear just going to be the left fielder every single day.
That's fair.
So then who's the guy when he's not out there? Is that what we see as the shift? It's Isaac Collins when he's playing, and it's Maikel Garcia when he's not. Is it that simple? Or we're going to have a third guy in the mix, and it's actually it's going to be a rotation almost, depending on how the platoon is going in the outfield. We'll see.
If Isaac Collins hits first, the order would be him, Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, Maikel, right?
And
that's how we do it.
Depends on how the rest of the line. I mean, Jack's probably batting seventh if he's in the lineup that day.
Yeah, Lane Thomas or whoever, look, I think I pretty safely can say that whoever's playing center field, whether that be Lane,
ninth,
because we mentioned Lane Thomas. I think, here's the truth. This is why I said I think Isaac Collins is going to play every day. I think Isaac Collins is going to be more the everyday left fielder, because I think Lane Thomas is more in a timeshare with Kyle Isbell
For center, yep.
than he is in left field with Collins. I think Kyle Isbell, if you look at he plays great center field, but if you look at the hard numbers, Kyle Isbell was he was a detriment from a hitting perspective in the outfield. And so if you think you can get more out of Lane Thomas, and the outfield is smaller now, and they already told us before they thought Lane Thomas could play some outfield. I asked JJ straight up, can Lane Thomas play center field at Kauffman Stadium? And he said yes. I think his platoon might be more there, and Isaac Collins is a 130, 140 game player for this team. And if he's that, I think there's a strong argument of I'd rather have Maikel Garcia knocking him in than Salvador Perez knocking them in. And moving Collins to the top and Maikel down there allows me to bounce with the lefty-righty a little bit more, getting Vinny and Cags further spread apart, because if I don't hit Isaac Collins leadoff, he's not hitting fifth. He's going further down the lineup too. And then Jack's moving ahead of him, and then Collins is moving sixth, and I'm jumping the whole thing around. It's a small thing. It's very early in the season. I'm interested. It hasn't even started. But I am interested to see how they do, mostly because this has been a story for them for 5 years.
Yeah.
Who's their leadoff guy? How do they get a leadoff spot? How do they get runs? They need runs. They've got the pitching figured out for now. They got to figure out how to put runs on the board.
Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll talk about KU and BYU, plus the bubble that Missouri finds itself on. And Rob Doster from Field of 68 going to join us right here on 96.5 The Fan. I don't know if you guys saw this story from Tyrann Mathieu, who we all know, we love having him on the show. He's got his own podcast now, talking a lot about his life and playing career and everything about, where he's from and everything, going back to his high school and college days. And every once in a while, there's some gems that come out of that. And Drew had to do some work to bleep this. So there's probably like 7 different bleeps, I think. But we've got it for you. So he's telling a story. We all know the background on Tyrann Mathieu. At the time, now it might look silly, but at the time, remember, like he was getting kicked out of school because of weed, okay? And so...
so stupid.
Right, but at the time, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so he's telling the story of how, man, I did everything possible to try to figure out how to pass a drug test. And just listen to what he was willing to do.
Did you ever have anybody go pee for you before, bro? Because people do it all the time.
Man, listen to me, bro. I done tried everything in the books. I've used other people's urine. They got the fake penises. I remember one time, I'll tell you a funny story. It's not funny. I could have died, but like a couple tests before I realized it was going to kick me out of school. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in a circle, and I'm on Google trying to figure out, man, how the pass this test?
Right.
Like these folk keep threatening me.
Right.
Right. The top, put the bleach, put a little bleach in the top and put it in your Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. And I'm like, yo, what the Like, it felt like my whole insides was just like erupting. You know what I'm saying? I ended up throwing that up. And I was, at that point, I'm like, man, I done ran out of tricks. Right. I don't know what to do. And yeah, bro, I remember sitting in front of that building, man, with a cap full of bleach in a Coke bottle. And I thought that was going to save my life. It didn't. It backfired.
Tyrann Mathieu drank bleach to try to pass a drug test. Now, some of you might first reaction be, or how come you didn't just stop? Now, back then it was viewed differently. Now it's like, who cares? It's weed. But you would rather drink bleach than just maybe not smoke.
Hey, you had to pass that test.
Oh my goodness,
dude.
And let's also be
he's right. He could have died drinking bleach.
That's like the first thing you learn. Don't drink bleach. That's what they,
Goodness.
It's like one of the early lessons.
Crazy.
That is desperate.
He acknowledged how desperate he is.
I guess some
you
of
get
this is
kicked
just
out of LSU otherwise.
I know, but like some
the
of this
honey
is
badger is no longer the honey badger necessarily anymore.
I got a lot of vices, and I get that they're hard to get or quit. Right? I get it. But if the option is quit vice or drink bleach,
man,
I'm not going the bleach route. Also, at that time, man, when Tyrann was in college,
he also said it clearly did not work either. So he did it for nothing. It didn't, It didn't even work.
Man, if I needed a drug test, would you give me some clean urine?
Sure.
Ah, what a guy.
Sure.
Look at Alex.
Sure.
I don't know why I would in this case. But,
he talked about using the old, what was it? He said the Wizinator or whatever that thing was called. He said he was using different devices
he was
trying to pass
literally everything in order to pass this test, it sounds like.
Well, yes, he did
but
everything.
Bleach? He didn't we didn't have Google when Tyrann was in college?
Well, I think that's how he found. I think he said he searched. That's how he found it. I think Google led him to the bleach. Yeah, I think Google.
He was desperate to find any way that he hadn't already tried.
Yeah, I think Google is what led him, Cody, to trying the bleach method.
He should probably not.
His podcast is really interesting. If you can't tell,
I hope he comes
he's
in
willing to
Coach's
share
DBs
everything
or something. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, we love having him on the show. That's a hell of a story, right there.
Yeah, I do. Him describing it like, man, I was desperate. I was just drinking bleach. You're like, what? There had to be another way.
He wanted to stay on the football field, and he was trying to do everything possible.
It just makes me like at the, all the head shops in town. Isn't that what they were selling at like Seventh Heaven and stuff locally for all those years?
Yeah.
Haven't they been having like quickie detox treatments at like those places
I had
for the rest
someone on
of
our
time?
floor. Someone on our floor in our dorm room in college was like, "What was it? What were they taking?" And I don't know if it worked for her or not. Like she was taking like niacin or something. Like I guess that was something that was supposed to flush her system or something.
Really?
People were trying everything. Again, it also was viewed even much differently. I'm not saying that people don't still take drug tests, but like back then it was 10 years ago or 50, whatever it's been for him now, 15 years or whatever we're at. Like it was, as we all know, it was viewed differently in society too.
Over on YouTube, Justin says, tell Spec to drug test Cody now. And someone said, yeah, that'll be a real random testing coming to make sure. Let me tell you a little secret about radio. They don't drug test in radio.
Would you pass the test right now?
Yes, I'd pass the
sure?
test. I'm pretty sure.
With the pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It'd be fine.
Well, what's the last 30 days been like for you?
You know, who knows?
Who knows?
Who's to say? I don't want to be held responsible. Maybe a poppy seed muffin, Anything could happen.
That's true. I heard about the poppy seeds. Yep.
Maybe that's what got me.
Okay.
Now all these people in the text line talking about the things that did and didn't
work. Someone says
work.
niacin works. Someone else says it doesn't work. I'm just telling you, these are things that people in college were using.
I got a text that says passing a drug test is easy. You can buy a fake penis and monkey pee at the vape store. What? This is what we're doing? This is the lives we're living?
Oh, boy.
He's out here drinking bleach. Mm-hmm. That's the lowest of the low.
Up next, let's talk some college basketball. There's a huge game in Lawrence tomorrow. College game days in town. It's the top two guys in college basketball, I would say. I understand Duke fans might disagree, but could be the number one overall pick, one of them in the NBA draft. Let's talk KU and BYU with Rob Dostra of the Field of 68 next.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Tune in for the Chiefs Red Half Hour every day, starting at 11:30 right here on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Did you know that you can watch all your favorite shows right on YouTube? We're live streaming Fesco and Dusty, Cody and Gold, The Drive, and After Hours all day long. So if you want to look at the beautiful Alex Gold, interact with Cody Tapp in the chat, or gaze at the ruggedly handsome Dusty Likens, just go to YouTube and watch them while you pretend to work. Go to our channel, hit subscribe, and stay up to date with 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from,
we can be twinsies,
to,
how was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus continues. Live from Australia. Featherweight champ Alexander Volkanovski.
He is an animal.
Defends his belt at home in an explosive rematch against Diego Lopez.
You gotta be kidding me!
And the always dangerous Dan Hooker.
Yes.
Throws down with powerhouse Benoit Saint-Denis in a high-action lightweight showdown.
Oh! There's never been anything like this.
Let's go. UFC 325, Saturday, January 31st, only on Paramount Plus.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Back in 60.
Are you really eating during the commercial break?
You bet. These Factor meals keep my head in the game.
Oh, yeah? So what do you got there?
This year's filet mignon and creamy Parmesan shrimp. With Factor, I get chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals delivered weekly. Perfect for pros like us.
Oh, so you're a pro now, too?
Box says Factor, eat like a pro. So, yeah.
I think it's time for you to share a bite like a pro.
No. Get your own at factormeals.com. Factor, eat like a pro.
Hey, it's Josh Vern. You're in before I head out to Arizona to see the boys in blue in spring training. I'll be hosting the Royals Rally Show live from Kauffman Stadium on Saturday, January 31st, starting at 9 a.m. The biggest names in the organization will join me for exclusive one-on-one interviews as they get ready for the 2026 season. If you missed any of the show, it'll all be available afterwards on the All Things Vern podcast channel. The Royals Rally Show, Saturday, January 31st, starting at 9, right here in your home for Royals Baseball, 96.5 The Fan.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
Car, truck, or motorcycle wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
All right, we're just getting started here on a Friday. It's Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, producer Drew Nixon. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get to what Mike Ginnetti over at Spot Track had to say about the Chiefs cap situation and a solution that exists, not to mention if Travis Kelce comes back, what's that contract look like? We've talked a lot about what's the number that's feasible. Can he come back at that $16 million year number, or would you be more interested if it was at $8 or $10 million? So we'll get to what Mike Ginnetti had to say. But we know we got a huge showdown coming up tomorrow in Lawrence. College game day in town. It's KU, it's BYU, it's Devonsa, it's Peterson. Cannot wait for this one and to talk more about it. Plus, a little bit about the other locals in Missouri and Kansas State. Rob Doster from the Field of 68, kind enough to give us some time here on a Friday. Rob, great to have you on the show. I mean, this is got all the billing of what you want for college basketball. Can you remember, though, a matchup like this? You got two great teams, but also two guys that might be the number one overall pick in the NBA draft.
No, I mean, I'm sure we've had situations like this before, but what makes it so exciting is that it's been a while since we had a battle for number one, right? We've kind of known who the number one pick was going to be early on in a lot of these different NBA draft processes, right? Like, it was obvious very early that Cooper Flagg was going to be the number one pick last year. And the year before that was like, no one's beating out Wemby. He's going to end up being the number one pick. So it's kind of fun to be able to track that throughout the year, especially when you got two guys that are both, like, neither of them are kind of losing that race. You know what I mean? Like, it's, oh, wow, you see Darren Peterson just had 25 points and a half. And, oh, you see A.J. DeBonsa is averaging 26 points over his last 4. So it's like they're both out there trying to one-up each other. It reminds me a little bit, it's not the same thing, but it reminds me a little bit of Adam Morrison and J.J. Redick, right? Remember that in the February of 2006 and their race for National Player of the Year. So, I'm excited about this one, man. I think Darren's –
All right, looks like let me put him on hold there. We lost connection there just a second. I don't know if that's on his end or ours. Let me put him on hold. We'll try to reconnect with Rob. He was going to talk a little bit about Darren Peterson and his performance a little bit, so we'll try to get that cleared up. But this is, I mean, he mentions going back to maybe 2006, the last time you had two guys battling for perhaps the number one overall pick, and now we get them head-to-head, and these are two teams. So let's try to reconnect there. We've got Rob. Sorry, I think we had a connection problem there. I think you're about ready to start talking about Darren Peterson's year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's been really cool to see him kind of get back into the rhythm here. I know he's been dealing with some of the leg injuries and all that, but I don't think we're going to see Darren and AJ match up one-on-one against each other all that often. But I think that's kind of what if we can get a couple of possessions of that maybe late in the game, I think that's kind of what we're all hoping for, right?
No question. There's been frustration, as you know, nationally and locally about the availability for Darren Peterson and all that. How much do you think that? It sounds like not at all, has impacted, the conversation around him and looking towards the draft and looking towards his future?
I think it's impacted the conversation within media circles, right? And in kind of the content realm. It's something that we talk about quite a bit on Field of 68. I'm sure you guys have had a couple of segments this season about whether or not Darren Peterson is going to play.
Yep.
But I don't think it's really impacted all that much when it comes to NBA front offices because they get it, man. Like they deal with load management, they deal with injuries all the time, and they even more than college situations understand that these players are essentially assets, right? And you can't run them into the ground when they're 18, 19, 20 years old because that means you're not going to be able to have it pay off when they kind of hit their prime at 25, 26, 27, 28. So I think NBA teams get it, and you see what he's doing. It's not like he's out here dealing with like a torn ACL that he's trying to come back from, or he blew his Achilles out and he's trying to get healthy again. It's like the guy's dealing with cramps and he's dealing with a hamstring injury that is the kind of thing where probably if he sits out for 3 months and just does nothing but like strength training and all that, like he'll be back to being 100% again, but you can't do that in the middle of the season. You got to be able to stay in shape. You got to be able to be ready to play. So I don't think it's impacted his ability to be the number one pick. More than anything else, the reason why it's now a conversation who's going to end up going number one is because A.J. DeBonsa has proven that some of those red flags that he had coming into the season aren't necessarily red flags.
If you look at like what it is, how important is it for a guy like Self, like just in the recruiting game, to make sure that he handles number one overall prospects the right way so the next one wants to come here, right? Like how much does that get discussed amongst top players?
Some, I'm sure it does, but like at the end of the day, I think a lot of these guys at this point are chasing the highest dollar figure that they can get paid, and as long as Kansas is going to be able to pay these guys the amount of money that a number one draft pick should be earning, then I think that they're much less concerned about what Bill said. Like, you're not recruiting anymore, right? You're negotiating now. That's why you got a kid from Boston who played his high school basketball in California and then in southern Utah is at BYU. Right. And you're going to tell me that was all just recruiting. Like, all that was Kevin Young just putting out this recruiting pitch that AJ was like, man, you're going to get me ready for the NBA. No, man, it's all about paychecks. It's all about how much money you can get. It's all about that at this point. So I'm not worried about how Bill Self handles this situation as much as I'm worried about Bill Self doing well enough that the people that are going to provide the funds to pay for these kids are going to be happy with the way that Bill Self handles the situation.
We certainly all have our own NIL complaints, and there's some issues with the system generally. But from like a health of the sport perspective, is it better the way it works for college football, as in these guys might stick around longer because the check is better than the G League?
Look, I think that being able to have these stars that are recognizable, right? Like 10 years ago, if you go back a decade and you look at who was entering the NBA draft and staying in the draft, anybody that had a chance to get an Exhibit 10 or a chance to get a guaranteed contract in like Kazakhstan was gone. Because you got like a 10-year window. If you're 19 or 20 years old, you probably got at most a 10-year window to earn money as a basketball player. And if you can go and make $50,000 and get a chance to be on an NBA roster at 21, or you're coming back to play for a school and get education and room and board, like, you're going to go make that money because $50,000 is $50,000, right? And you still got the chance to make it to the NBA. Now, there are guys. Yaxel Lindenberg would have been a top 20 pick in the draft, and he came back to school, right? There's got more guys that are doing that and passing up the opportunity to go and get a guaranteed deal because they understand they can make money here because of the situation. And frankly, you might be able to make more money by coming back to school than you would by heading to the NBA draft. So I think it's made the talent level significantly higher. The European pros that are coming over have raised the talent level in this sport. The next step is going to be using that ability for NIL and to monetize your athletic skills in college to incentivize retention. Right now, you're incentivized to come out or to come back, put your name in the portal, and drive up the bidding war. You got to find a way to be able to incentivize retention and make it more profitable for kids to come back to the same program they were at versus leaving. The same way what the NBA do, right? They put in that rule where you can now make a higher max salary if you're at the place that you've been or the place that you were drafted, right? I forget exactly what the Supermax the language is, but they incentivized staying home as opposed to going and entering full free agency. As soon as college basketball figures out how to be able to do that, and guys, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not that confident that the people that are running the sport are going to be able to figure that out because they got bigger issues, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's the brightest people making those decisions right now. But as soon as you figure that part of it out, so that let's just say like Trey White, imagine what Kansas fans would feel about Trey White if this was year 4 for him in that jersey as opposed to year 1, right? That's what you want. That should be the goal. That should be the ideal.
We're talking to Rob Doster, co-founder of the Field of 68. Now, with Kansas just heading into this game tomorrow, how do you feel they're playing right now? We all know there's a huge tough stretch of games coming up starting with this game tomorrow. Do you feel like, the conversation that people were having 2.5-3 weeks ago after the loss to UCF, that now you've seen enough to where a lot of the concerns are gone, or what do you see with them right now?
I would just like to state for the record that I never jumped off that bandwagon. I've been saying all along that they'll figure it out. They'll get Peterson healthy. Give me Darren Peterson. Give me Bill Self. Give me that defense, and I think that team can go make a run to the Final Four. I've never backed off that take, and I'm very glad that I stuck with it because I think they're starting to put this thing together. The big thing is, and I feel like we've kind of beaten this talking point to death, but the big thing is with Peterson now consistently in the lineup, everybody has figured out what the expectation is for them for roles, what the expectation is for them for shots, what the expectation is for them for minutes. And that's a little bit easier to deal with than like, all right, he's going to play in the first half and he's not playing in the second half. And what's my role going to be? And when am I going to get shots? And so I think that it's helped kind of set up some things out and allow guys to define what their role is and what their job is. But I think the biggest thing is just, you now have two guys that can go out and get you 20 or 25 on any given night in Peterson and Council. You have a level of leadership with Council that I don't think people really realized when he was coming in. And the defense is back. Like the first three games of the Big 12 season, I don't know if Kansas could have guarded the three of us, fellas. And now they're back to being a team that is like top 10 defense. I think, what are they, like 12 on KenPom now? Like they're back to being one of the better defenses in college basketball. And if they're going to guard, and they got two guys that can go out and win a game for you one-on-one, and plus one of them might be the number one overall pick, plus you got a Hall of Famer that's won 2 titles in the last 15 years, give me that, man. Give me that all day.
When you look at the Big 12 as a whole, I think they took a 1 year at least hiatus from being the best basketball conference in the world. The SEC certainly was that last year. Are they back to being the best one this year? And I guess how many teams do you think out of the Big 12 make the tournament?
Yeah, they're probably the best conference, right? Like it's either them or the Big 10. I think I would probably make the argument for the Big 12 just because I don't think the bottom of the Big 12 is what the bottom of the Big 10 is. And I do think that you see, like you got, to me, Arizona's the best team in college basketball. And I think you got 6 teams at the top of the Big 12 that legitimately can make a Final Four. And if you can make a Final Four, you can win a championship, right? But I think you got 6 at the top. Kansas, Iowa State, BYU, Arizona.
Tech, maybe.
I'm missing. Yeah. I'm Texas Tech. I'm missing one too off the top of my head, but I think that the top of that conference is the strongest you're going to get, and I think there's more depth in it as well. And we're finally starting to get some of these matches. Like Houston's the one I forgot. Apologies to all the Cougar fans in Lawrence right now. I'm just happy that we're starting to get some of these battles between like those top 6 teams in the Big 12. Because that's when it's at its best, man. Like, how much fun was that? You know, Arizona gets up big in the Marriott Center, and then BYU comes all the way back, and Arizona almost gives it away, right? How much fun is this game going to be on Saturday? Like, this is what we want for college basketball, and this is the matchups that you want. It's the headline grabbers, and it's going to, AJ and Darren Peterson and Bill Self and BYU in the fog. Like, that's going to cut through the noise.
I want to pick
Arkansas, and you got Kentucky coming up right after. Like, that's going to cut through the noise. No one's going to be talking about NFL. No one's going to be talking about Charles Bediako. No one's going to be talking about any of this other stuff. They're going to be talking about those basketball games, man. And that's the stuff. That's when college basketball becomes the headline in the sport. I'm just glad we're getting it in January this year. And I don't know if we would be if you didn't have AJ DeBonta and Darren Peterson, these big brands facing off. So I'm happy that we're finally at that point in the calendar.
Just another couple minutes here. Rob Doster, the field of 68. I do want to pivot to Missouri and K-State for a second. You got Missouri, who is 500 in SEC play, 14-7. They had the 2 big wins to start conference play against Kentucky and Florida. Then they had a little bit of a lull. Did not have a strong non-conference. Are they the best best example of truly a bubble team right now?
Yeah, the good news is that in the SEC you have a bunch of wins that you have that you can actually get that will be able to improve your resume, right? Like the Florida one's a perfect example, right? Like Florida is a team that looks really, really good on paper and is also kind of beatable because they're not a perfectly constructed team. Same thing with Alabama, same thing with Kentucky, same thing with Tennessee, Texas A&M. So I think Missouri will do enough to be able to get in, but I feel like that program always leaves me wanting a little bit more, right? Like you'll see these moments where they look like a team that can be a top 15 team, that can be a second weekend team, that can make a run, and then they'll go and they'll get smacked by 26, or they'll go and they'll get 40-piece by Illinois. So Missouri's a team that I just wish that there was a level of consistency. And you see it year over year too, right? They'll be top 20 one year, and the next year they won't win a game in the SEC, and they'll come back the next season and make the NCAA tournament. It's just, can there be a level of consistency and normalcy with some of the performances you get out of that program?
On the K-State end, is Jerome Tang is there any chance, I guess, he survives this? His buyout is so high, maybe Kansas State doesn't want to pay it. But at this point, he's starting to make excuses for things that happened in August.
Yeah, man, and I love Tang too. I think that he represents a lot of what's good about the sport. But like at the end of the day, you got to win, right? And if you're going to have the money that they've spent the last couple of seasons on building a roster and getting some of these pieces and going and getting PJ Haggerty, and I know they spent a lot of money last year on that team. If there's going to be that kind of financial investment in the program, it's got to result in wins. Otherwise, people are going to stop donating that money. And once that money stops coming in, you're going to stop being able to build a roster. And all of a sudden, if you struggle with talent, all of a sudden, when you have a team that doesn't have the talent, what's going to happen? How is that going to get built? So he's definitely got some things that he's got to figure out. I don't think that it's trending in the right direction. The biggest thing for me, more than anything else, is last year you built a program around a guy in Doug McDaniel who I don't think is a winning basketball player. I think that's kind of playing out in Memphis. And this year you're building it around P.J. Haggerty, who very clearly left a program that wanted him back, that I think ended up offering him more money than he got at Kansas State to come back to go play. That's a guy chasing a paycheck. And I think that when you have a roster that's built around guys that are chasing a paycheck as opposed to guys that are invested in the success of the program, that's never going to be the way to, win at the level that some of that fan base expects and some of the people that expect when they donate all that money to the program.
Rob Doster, Field of 68. Great stuff as always, man. Appreciate you coming on the show. Enjoy this weekend of college hoops.
Oh, I'm going, man. We got some big ones this weekend. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. There you go. Rob Doster at Rob Doster on X. If you don't give him a follow already, make sure you check that out. They do a show, I think, just about every night also on YouTube and X. Do a great job covering.
I think they do the premier college basketball coverage personally. Not just because we had him on the show. I just think they do.
They got a good group over there. They got a good group, and obviously Rob's one of the co-founders at Field of 68. Talking ahead of BYU and KU tomorrow, and in a top battle potentially. One of these two guys, going to be the number one overall pick.
Game? What's the tip?
A little after 3.
I think this is even over on Twitch.
KU's a 4.5 point favorite.
That's surprising.
We were talking off air with Dusty yesterday, and we're like, okay, they're not going to be underdogs at home.
I thought 2.5.
But yeah, 1.5, 2.5 to be 4.5. I'll be interested to see if the line goes down by the time we get to tip off tomorrow.
I would bet my heart, and I don't know. I would bet.
Someone said I thought you guys were talking to Vinny Pasquantino. They thought he sounded the same.
You guys think everyone sounds the same? Vinny sounds like Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis sounds like Rob Doster.
I think Doster's a Philly guy. So maybe if people just picking up on the East Coast thing, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Because I think Doster's a Philadelphia guy.
Maybe. We haven't had Vinny on. You know what? We need maybe I'll try to get him on next week. We need Vinny back on one more time for a Super Bowl preview. For his former guy, Sam Darnold, and pitchers and catchers reporting, my goal is to have Vinny on one day next week. Talk a little baseball, and more importantly, football. You know who we talk. We talk to Vinny about football, not baseball, more often on this show.
True. Very true. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we will discuss the Chiefs a little bit more, the wide receiver room, and specifically some of the pieces to the coaching staff now that tell us about how they feel with the wide receivers. But Mike Giannetti was on the afternoon show yesterday from Spot Track talking about the Chiefs' cap situation and also perhaps what a number could look like for Travis Kelce. Here's how he described the Chiefs from a cap point of view heading into the offseason.
It's a bad time for the cap isn't real people out there because it's real and it eventually does come up to get you. And that's what we're seeing here, right? With the Mahomes stuff that has been pushed down the line a couple times here. He leads the league right now with a $78 million cap hit. And the Chris Jones contract, of course, is well front loaded in this regard. So those two alone, Carrington, account for about half of this Chiefs salary cap when it's all said and done. So like I said, plenty of ways to get out of this, but you've got big time contracts for those players and Trey Smith and a few others, the highest paid center in football. It's going to add up eventually, and you're going to have to massage it as needed to get yourself through another season.
As he noted, though, the big benefit they have is still the cap is still going up. It's not the cap isn't real, but I can't remember. We went through this exercise maybe a few weeks back. We can do it again. Whether you go to Spot Track site or you go to any of these other cap sites, you can actually go through and you can make 3 or 4 moves and you can level out the amount you're over pretty quickly. And they got people way smarter than any of us involved in the numbers to figure that out. But they have to make some decisions, but they can move some money around on Trey Smith's deal. Mahomes can get something done with his contract this offseason. If they decide to move on from Jawan Taylor, we think they will. There's some dead cap there that's attached to it. This is why, though, I think they'll be fine financially, but it's why I don't also think they're going to be in the Alec Pierce market. I don't think this is the offseason for them to go sign a high price free agent wide receiver. I just don't think that's the spot that they're in yet.
And why the Kelce number needs to come back to normal, and why you and I have continued to bring up things like the possibility of a Trent McDuffie trade. Part of the reason they're in this right now is they got a lot of high-priced players. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey. Some of those numbers have started to jump up a little bit, and Nick Bolton and others. And because those numbers have started to jump up a little bit, they're tight. They're tight against that. I also think that they threw a little caution to the wind in the cap game, Gold, for the first time in years, the year they tried to go for the three-peat. And when they didn't want people to leave right around that time, they ate it a little bit on the contract. The other part is that, and this is why cannot be understated, the flexibility Patrick Mahomes gave him with his contract compared to other quarterbacks in the league with similar contracts is infinite. He gave them more flexibility than any other quarterback gave him in the league. And because of that, they can essentially just move Chris Jones' money, move Patrick Mahomes' money, cut Jawan Taylor, and tinker with, and not even like full move, of Trey Smith and be cap neutral. So then the rest of it is, how do you get the cap back in order? Well, you let some other tough decisions go. And look, you didn't want the season to end the way, but considering their cap situation, it's a pretty damn good time to be picking ninth because you're going to be making some difficult decisions in the roster for talented players you like. And in this case, you might be able to replace that talent more immediately because of where you're selecting, which makes this process a little bit easier. And then he mentioned the Kelsey thing, which is us going back to the Mike Evans a little bit and what Kelsey's number be. We're not experts. He's closer to it. Let's find out what Janetti said about that.
He had 30 less targets in 2025. So there's no question that he was used less, obviously, for obvious reasons. He's getting up there in age. But the efficiency is right there, if not better than it's been over the past 3 to 4 years. So they found a way to make it work, even though it didn't seem like he was this stellar standout tight end anymore. And I think they can certainly do that again in 2026. But that comes with a pay cut, of course. So he's not going to be a $17 million player again going forward. We've got him at about 10, 11 million. That feels right. And if you want to make that 8 with some incentives, I think maybe a lot of people side up for that. So still pretty useful, obviously very talented, and useful to this offense specifically, of course.
I hope he's right because you and I have gone back and forth on the salary. I told you I want Travis Kelce back, but I don't want it at $15-16 million. I don't think that makes sense for the Chiefs long term. Now, I don't know what is Travis Kelce good with $8 million? I have no idea. But if you told me it was 1 for 8 and incentives bump it to $14 million or something, all about it. 1 for 10 and incentives bump it to $15 million. That's a whole different conversation. But it cannot be $16 million guaranteed for Travis Kelce at this point in his career for the Chiefs next year. We just got done discussing where they're at from a cap perspective.
Yeah, some of this is just whether or not they're going to push it down or all this other stuff, and at least that other side. But I'll tell you right now, he said that number. I was like, sold.
I hope he's right.
Are you kidding? If he take that number, call him up today. And I understand that it's a little bit different, at least on this end, but are you kidding? Immediately. Give him a contract, give him a deal. I'm signed up. We're all on board. And so if he's right in what the number is, and this is where I think the Mike Evans number is really interesting too, and we'll talk more about him in the Chiefs Red Half Hour again, but that is a number that we can absolutely take. The only other part, and I see other people mentioning it on the YouTube and Twitter and Twitch streams, which is, this is why, I think some people want to trade Chris Jones and not mess with Chris Jones' contract, is they kind of want to just wear it for this year. The problem is, I'm not even sure they can get cap neutral without messing with Chris Jones' deal. Like it or not, I think Chris Jones is here. And Chris Jones, I still think is playing at a high level, so I'll deal with it for 2 years. As his cap number currently sits, I think you got to find a way to pay Chris Jones over the next couple of years and hope that you can circumvent yourself with some cap-friendly deals. And why I agree with you in the sense that I don't think they'll go after Alec Pierce. You know why? Rashee Rice is on a rookie deal. Xavier Worthy's on a rookie deal. They don't have to pay any of those guys yet. And another reason to draft a wide receiver, hypothetically, at 9 or 40, is so that you can have some cheap position players, and why you should draft a running back, and all this other stuff. And look, running backs don't cost so much that you can't afford to pay Breece Hall. They got enough space to do that kind of thing. It's just I don't think that they're going to do.
There's a considerable difference. I mean, Breece Hall might get $12 million a year. Alec Pierce, who by no means do I think he is some top 10 wide receiver in football, but
he's going to get paid.
He's going spot track. They project if it's a 4-year deal, $81 million. If it's a 2-year deal, it's something like 55 to 60. That's their projections. But
good for Alec Pierce.
That's not the type of money that you would think he would garner, but that's the reality.
It's not the kind of money I want tied
is.
up in Alec Pierce if I'm the Chiefs. I'll say that.
But that's the going rate. That's the going rate. I just don't think they're in an offseason where they're going to spend that kind of money on a wide receiver. A year from now might be a completely different conversation, especially if they have figured out some defensive line issues. If Omar Norman Lott or Gelati becomes something, if whoever they draft this year, whether it's in the first round or second round or third round as a defensive lineman, if that player has a strong showing, it's a whole different feel about where you're at in 2027 from a allocation of dollars, right? I mean, we all know the name of the game. If you want to sustain success, you've got to draft extremely well, and especially at non-premium positions, have rookies that are not. You don't want to pay free agents at non-premium positions. This is why I actually had. I know we don't have to rehash it, but I had no issue with how they addressed linebacker in the draft with Nick Bolton and stuff over the years, because to me, up until now, when they signed
Nick Bolton,
ultimately, but I would rather have draft linebackers, draft centers, than go spend top dollar free agent money. And that's why the Nick Bolton extension was controversial, because they did that very thing. But when they drafted him and they went after they're already drafting Willie Gay a couple years before, to me that was fine. I did not want them to keep signing the Anthony Hitchens of the world.
My issue is that you can't do it with too many non-valuable positions.
Yeah.
They have paid in the last few years a center, a guard, and a linebacker. And you're like, okay, but maybe don't just say.
No, I'm saying that's why you need to draft those.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm saying it's fine if you pay a linebacker, us. You're paying them all big contracts. You're like, well, these aren't valuable enough positions to give everybody a massive deal. Oh, that is future protector of the year, Creed Humphrey. So I want
He's not going to win, man. He's not going
I
to
don't
win.
know,
You're
man.
getting your hopes up.
I don't know.
He's not going to win protector of the year. He
That
will
27-1 ticket.
At some point in his career, he's going to win it. I wish I could make that bet. Just like in the next 5 years, will he win it? I think the answer is yes.
I just think every year
in a 6-win season, I don't think they're giving it to the center.
He doesn't win it this year. I'm putting 100 on it in Vegas this year.
We can see what the odds are. I wonder if he'll be 27-1 again.
Well, if he's a finalist, he probably won't be 27-1.
Josh Simmons might be my bet next year.
Ooh. Well, maybe we'll be back in Vegas for Circa. We'll see.
That'd be fun. All right, up next, guys, let's talk some Chiefs football on the wide receiver side of things and what they're doing from a coaching end. And one thing that seems so simple in the NFL, and it's led to a Super Bowl, that's coming up right here on 96.5 The Fan.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Bobby Witt Jr., and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to place your bets before the NFL season closes its tab. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're in on it. If you're a new customer, bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over, and well, football is officially done. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. That's FanDuel.com/local. FanDuel Sportsbook's the official sportsbook of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First, online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
Never have I ever called my sister from the finish line of my first marathon.
Hello?
You won't believe where I am.
Are you running?
Mile 26. I'm gonna make it.
Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e with its advanced camera system on us. Plus, 2 lines for just $30 a line.
Guys, I can't believe it.
I knew you could do it, babe.
That was amazing. Mom, how do you feel? I feel great. I can't feel my feet. Let's take a picture. And then you may carry me to the car.
Share every stride, every mile, every memory on America's best network. Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e on us and 2 lines for just $30 a line.
With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 eligible port-ins on Essentials 55 Plus for well-qualified customers with AutoPay plus taxes, fees, and $35 device connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us. Finance agreement 128 gigabytes, $599.99 required. Best mobile network in the U.S. based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 1H 2025. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Did you hear? Allstate car insurance now costs even less. So when you bundle with home, you can save even more. Check Allstate first to bundle and save with a new lower auto rate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This new year, get started on your next success with University of Maryland Global Campus. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start February 11th. An accredited state university, UMGC offers online and hybrid classes while giving you a head start on 2026. Earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and experience. or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Hey, it's Alex Gold, and coming up on Tuesday, February 10th, everyone from the station will be hosting the Chiefs off-season show, starting at 9 a.m. Bob, Dusty, Cody, C-Dot, and myself will all be in studio and on camera for 2 hours talking about what went wrong in 2025, the Chiefs' biggest needs in free agency, and who should they be targeting in the upcoming NFL draft. The Chiefs off-season show, starting at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, February 10th, right here on your home for Chiefs football, 96.5 The Fan.
The Chiefs offseason show with Bob, Dusty, Cody, Alex, and C-Dot is Tuesday, February 10th, starting at 9 a.m. right here on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC, FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City in Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We'll get to the trash of the day here in 20 minutes. Don't forget, it is a Friday, getting set for the weekend. Fan Club Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks to Rieger. What are we drinking today, by the way? Later on, what's the cocktail?
So the last cocktail they sent me for January is an espresso martini. Okay. I actually confirmed with our guest beforehand because I'm like, you know what? That's not a drink for everybody. I want to see what our guy Nate Taylor said. I said, hey man, do you like espresso martini? He said, who doesn't?
Okay.
So,
well, he will be in studio.
Hey, all right.
So he's immediately in. So a little cafe amaro, vodka, I'll tell you all the cocktail stuff later, but I even brought my fancy,
you did. I did notice that.
My glasses from home just so we could have them properly.
You only did that because Nate Taylor's coming in, didn't you?
Well, honestly, just
that's what it is. Yes. That's what it is.
I just don't think you can
it's only because Nate Taylor's
showing off the appliances.
That's what it is. Nate, see what
yeah?
you've done. This is
showing off the silverware.
Anybody
I got a cabinet
else
full of bar glass.
This is only because Nate Taylor's coming in studio.
I think it was just like, could you imagine how weird an espresso martini would look in a rocks glass?
It would, but
it would just feel wrong.
It would get it done though. But yeah, so you need a martini glass for a martini. It turns out, yeah.
I think it's preferred. Yeah. I've served other glasses that are other drinks that are typically served up, like this in a rocks glass. That one just feels wrong. That doesn't feel like a cocktail.
You needed to meet the occasion, you're saying, with the proper...
Plus, Nate Taylor, not in studio, but in studio for a fan club.
Yeah.
So we can talk to Nate about all kinds of stuff.
I can't tell you the last
little
time...
party time, Nate. That's a whole different vibe.
Fan club? Like
I don't
a specific
think so.
fan club?
No.
I don't say. I will say, I think the most fun I've ever had getting drinks with Nate was after he got in a very serious car wreck. His car got all smashed up. I'm dead serious. We did Sunday Sound Off on 41.
I didn't know Nate got in an accident.
His car had gotten totaled. This is years ago. His car had gotten totaled, and we waited an hour to record so he could get into the studio after the police came.
If I were him, I would be like, hey, I'm not coming into the studio,
obviously.
Guys. Yeah.
But instead, he came in. He was his normal, jovial Nate. He's like, you guys want to go get some drinks? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you no right now. Let's go. We went to the bar and hung out for a couple of hours. It was great.
Yes, as someone said, we are rolling out the red carpet for ESPN's Nate Taylor. That's true. That's happening.
That would be hilarious
if we actually
had a red carpet and we rolled it out as he walked in. That would be funny.
Anybody that comes in,
like the videos where they try to get him to walk on the red carpet down the streets.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Give a strut.
So that's coming up. That's coming up a little bit later on. Don't forget, we got the Chiefs off-season show on February 10th. We'll have everybody in studio. So we'll have Bob, Dusty, C-Dot joining Cody and I from 9 to 11. And we'll all be talking Chiefs. And we might be talking about this, which is how we'll start this hour. And that is, it's one thing to look at the personnel in the wide receiver room. I think we've acknowledged what they maybe need to do in that direction and how much faith you have in Rice or Worthy, for example, and should they bring back Tyquan Thornton. And we heard from Eric Bieniemy earlier in the week. We know they've brought in Chad O'Shea, a well-respected wide receiver coach. And then you notice yesterday, normally we would not even acknowledge, the signing or the hiring, I should say, of a quality control coach or a quality control assistant or whatever it might be, an offensive analyst. But I actually think it is meaningful considering what the discussion has been for the offseason already and the acknowledgement of fresh ideas and scheme and lack of development at wide receiver. And not only do they have Chad O'Shea, but this coach from Villanova, I honestly don't know if it's Pagan or Pagan. I really don't know. But
feels like a Pagan,
Maybe. I don't know. We'll get clarity at some point down the road. Point being, his background with wide receivers, success at a place even like Villanova, if you look at the success of some of his wide receivers, they're clearly targeting guys with wide receiver backgrounds, in addition to Eric Bieniemy, who's a running back coach, a running back background, I should say, to be the offensive coordinator.
And Dylan McCullough, they asked for an interview from
They did. They requested an interview, and he used to be with the Chiefs. Kind of interesting. The Raiders already have him employed as the same position. So
he's also well known as the guy who got Jeremiah Love to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So that feels...
Yeah, people are trying to connect the dots there. I don't know about that.
Are you
Dylan
nervous
McCullough's
about
here
that?
before.
Are you nervous about that?
If Dylan McCullough hadn't been a coach here before, I think I could make a bigger deal about it. He was a coach here before. He left because his kid was going to go play at a different area, and it just made sense at the time.
Not to mention
when he left, it was on good terms.
Not to mention they're drafting 9th, so it's not like they're first. We're like, oh, we hire him and we get there's no you hire. If that's not the only reason why you hire somebody. Anyway,
wide receivers.
I think there's a clear emphasis there that tells you they agree that with you, the fan, that the wide receiver development has stunk, and that they have to develop these wide receivers better. And I think it tells you that they still believe that the talent is there. Now, doesn't mean they're bringing back Hollywood Brown as well. I'm talking more about
I think
Worthy.
Rice and Worthy can play. I think it boils down to that. The way that they're treating the wide receiver coaching staff means they think Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy can be a 1 and a 2. And that the issue has not been the talent or the way. Because, again, I'll point out that Rashee Rice, on a per-game basis, once again, for the second straight year, even though he only played 4 games the year before, every time he's on the field, he essentially paces like he's going to be a 1,200-yard wide receiver. They think that there is something to be unlocked with Rashee Rice, and that Xavier Worthy's taking a step back is not that he has no talent, and that they just don't have the right guys coaching it. And look, this goes back to the Evans and everything else. I have a hard time arguing against it in one way, but this is the last year I will listen to it. You bring in this coach, you bring in Pagan, you bring in O'Shea, and you make all of this work, and you bring in guys who have worked with a lot of talent and no wide receiver and have been around the league and have seen it and have gotten people up to a higher level. If you can't figure it out this year, well, then you don't have the talent. And it is time to start looking in some other directions. And as much as you want to believe that you had it right when you drafted him, there's something missing and something off, and you got to figure out a way to do it, because the numbers don't lie on Rashee Rice because of the number of games he's been able to play. Only 8 last year, only 4 the year before that. That he has got to put it together on paper to prove that he's actually a wide receiver capable of doing. His yards per game are good. When he's on the field, he gets targets, he gets catches, he gets yards. He can't just be on a field. So, can you just take him to another level? Can you help him stay on a field? And some of that's injury, some of that's obviously personal stuff. But I think it's a clear signal. We believe in the talent. We just didn't have the right people in to do it. Because if it's not that, then it's on Brad Veach. We've said this before, too.
Or it's just also the continued development of, hey, we're going to draft a wide receiver or two, and over the next couple of years, we know that this wide receiver room is going to turn over, or maybe we know we're not going to be likely giving out an extension to Rashee Rice, and so a year from now,
they might, but
a year from now, you're going to have plenty of new bodies in that wide receiver room to begin with. We know guys under contract beyond 2026. It's Worthy and it's Jalen Royals. That's it after 2026 currently. That's it.
Yeah. But I think their way of doing this is their way of finding it. Because I don't think at this point it's likely that Rashee Rice gets a contract extension. But because of the way they're doing the staff, I feel like they're actually trying to answer that question. They don't think they have the final answers to the test yet. Because again, when Rice is on the field, they probably think, it works when it's on the field. How do we unlock the rest of this? And so we don't have to rebuild Patrick Mahomes' wide receivers for what? The 4th time since he's been a starting quarterback in the NFL? He had one glorious 3.5, 4-year run where everybody was the same, where it was just Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And yeah, sure, they'd sprinkle in MVS, and they'd move guys around, but they didn't have to rebuild it. In the 4 years since then, this would be if they had to move on from Rice or Worthy or both. This would be the 3rd time they've rebuilt the wide receiver room in 5 years. They did their little DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, whatever year. Then they drafted Rice, and they did the Rice-Worthy years, and then they'd be doing their whole other thing. I think the coaching staff they're bringing in is their way of saying, can we still salvage this thing without having to bring in fresh talent, without having to redo all of this? Is there a contract extension worth it for Rashee Rice if we get the right coaches around?
But it's not the Rice thing, though, not to get into that whole thing again, but the Rice thing is not even necessarily ability. I think he's going to have a great season. It's a contract year for him, essentially. Yeah. It's the obvious.
Just too much of the offseason.
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
off-field stuff,
any of the contract extension stuff is all, to me, directly related to what has happened in the past, but also can you trust the individual that you're about to hand over, guaranteed $50-60 million or whatever on a new contract, if that's what the market. If he goes out and has 1,100 yards, he's going to get a massive extension somewhere. I'm not so sure that's in Kansas City, though.
Admittedly, having this conversation a year early, if Rashee Rice has the contract you're talking about, 1,200 yards, 8-9 touchdowns, franchise tag, right?
I don't think
Like,
they can
if
afford.
you're
I
not-
don't think the
That's
Chiefs
$30
can
million.
afford to let him go.
That's 30. By the time we get there, it's probably $32 million a year.
If you're not
for
willing
that 1 year.
tag and trade, because if you're not willing to give him the extension, you just let him walk.
There's
That
no
seems
way
risky.
to. I don't. If he has 1,100 yards, if he has the season you're talking
I think
about,
they
I don't
pay
know
him.
if you can afford to let him go. Even with the off the field stuff, because you're rebuild. To your point,
My
Cody,
contract's going to have some language.
I understand
you know?
that, but you're asking to rebuild the room again. You're asking.
I know.
If he
I
gives
just
you
said that,
1,100 yards, that's what you've been wanting. But if you let him walk because of the off the field stuff, then you're having to do the exact thing whether he had a good year or not, and banking on it, the room rebuilding again.
I absolutely understand that part of it, and that's why we are closer to just saying no thanks than the Chiefs are, in my opinion.
Maybe
The
so.
Chiefs
I
have been
think
more than happy to
fans
take on troubled players.
And we've seen this play out before right here in Kansas City. We all saw the car wreck, the car wreck in Dallas. Then this Instagram post thing that got deleted. I don't think anything's going to happen with it, but it's obviously troubling nonetheless. So that happens, and fans that day immediately on our text line were like, "All right, I'm done." But I also know how fans are. I'm a
he
fan.
has 1,200 yards, they'll change their opinion real quick.
I'm a sports fan as well, so I've done this before as well. I'm just saying, he goes out and has 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. All of a sudden, everybody's like, well, you know what? Actually, wait. Actually, you know what? I'm not worried about it. I know how it'll go. I'm not stupid on that. I understand the conversation will get a hell of a lot more complicated if he's an 1,100-yard receiver this year versus Cody. He gets hurt and misses 4 or 5 games and has 600 yards. It's a whole different. That's a whole different vibe. He goes out there and he looks like a top 20 wide receiver in football in a contract year. A lot of Chiefs fans will all of a sudden lose their memory. There'll be some memory loss about what happened.
Oh yeah.
If he has 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards, and he is clean off the field, he will get. I think the Chiefs will pay him, and they'll pay him whatever that market value is.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. It'll be fascinating to see.
I still think that his troubles will still be too recent to get market value, but maybe 80-85%.
I could see that if he is clean on the field for one whole year, or clean off the field, and he plays a whole year.
What a low bar.
I think. I
think
the
get in
Chiefs
trouble
pay
for
him.
12 consecutive months.
I think they pay him.
But that is what I want out of Rashee Rice.
For sure.
You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, that's great news for the Chiefs. If, in fact, we can get to training camp, no issues, he can be on the field for 17 games, and he's an 1,000-plus yard receiver, that'd be an amazing thing for this 2026 team. And it would be a fascinating conversation this time next year.
Meanwhile, next weekend will be the Super Bowl.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's what's taking place?
That's going to take place. And obviously, a couple of the teams who have made it, and including the college football national champion, I thought J.J. Watt made a good point. But I want to say I think he's oversimplifying it a little. Because he had pointed out, Mike Vrabel's in his first year in New England. They're in the Super Bowl. Mike McDonald's in just his second year in Seattle. They're in the Super Bowl. Kurt Signetti in just his second year at Indiana won the national championship. And he's like, look, I've been around enough teams that a lot of owners and athletic directors are going to be looking around and saying, hey, why can't that be us? Why can't we defy that? Why can't we go in and turn this thing around in a year? And I think the biggest problem with the oversimplification of that is they all three got 3 massive things right, all in the same year. They found a coach, they found a quarterback, and they already had rosters that worked. Now, so in Vrabel's case, they found Drake May. They drafted the quarterback number 2 overall. So yeah, do I think that the biggest missing element was probably the coach for them? Yeah, but also I think had they stuck with Mayo, he'd maybe not been in the Super Bowl, but that team would have won a lot of games.
No, I don't think so.
Wow, you think that Vrabel's an 8-win swing?
In that particular circumstance,
I didn't say they'd win the Super Bowl. I thought they'd win a lot of games.
I'm just saying, Drake May was not a rookie this year. Drake May was with Mayo a year ago. That's why I'm confident. That's why I'm confident in saying that. Ultimately, yes, we all know you get the franchise quarterback, your job gets a heck of a lot easier. Totally.
Yeah,
and
in all these cases,
if Sam Darnold
and
wasn't playing at this level, the Seahawks wouldn't be there. Drake May was an MVP candidate. Yeah. I'm just saying, I also think the Mayo hire and that whole thing was a disaster for the Patriots. I think he was a terrible fit and terrible head coach. They just handed him the job as well, by the way. Yeah. And he was done after 1 year. Mike Vrabel is a guy that's been to now multiple AFC title games as a head coach, has a team in the Super Bowl.
He's a much better coach. That is not the argument I'm making. But do you think that the Patriots roster is the same and they win 4 games with Mayo? And go to the Super Bowl with Vrabel? You think he's a 10-win swing?
You're giving just the Patriots? Yes, I think that's how bad it was with Mayo. Ooh. Now, in general, if Drake May was on any other team, and let's say he was...
you just think Mayo's awful. This is more about him than that.
If Drake May was on the Raiders this past year, with Pete Carroll. And are they in the Super Bowl? I'm not so sure. But are they an 8 or 9 win team? Yeah, actually, I think so. And so that's what I'm getting at is like Drake May, of course, is the huge game changer, but Mike Vrabel, I mean, that one example is just clear to me. Look at what Mayo, the roster did not turn over all that much. That was a disaster with Mayo in New England.
I mean,
their schedule also was a hell of a lot easier.
I'm not denying that. And look, Signetti took over the least successful Power 5 program to ever exist in college football in 2 years, got it figured out. They also had Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 overall pick. And I understand you're like, well, maybe he made him that. Maybe. But when you got that kind of talent, and this is the part that I think is just oversimplifying. Well, why can't we do that? Okay, I'll make it real simple for you. Find a top 10, top 5 head coach in their respective sport, the NFL or college football, and find a top 5 quarterback or 10 quarterback, because Darnold, right, in their sport in that given year. I could probably turn it around too.
I think the college. I don't think you can compare the two. The college thing is so ridiculous. What Curt Cignetti did, where
that was a more impressive one
in
than
the NFL. Like you
ones,
have the salary cap, like all of the things technically kind of play into your favor with how things go. Yeah. To even the field, where college football it's against you. I think it is interesting where I think the point is enough where if you get the quarterback, then it makes things a lot more manageable from a coaching standpoint, regardless of who it is. And then you pair it with a really good head coach, like a Mike Vrabel, and then you see it come to fruition a little bit better, like we've seen with the Patriots. Or at one moment we thought with Joe Burrow, because he also was in his second year when he went to the Super Bowl for the exact same reasons. We're seeing it more where teams are flipping the script, I guess, quicker and turning things around. But it also is well-run organizations. Like the Patriots are well-run compared to the Browns or even the Raiders to an extent. Like, even though Fernando Mendoza might be a really good quarterback and he might be a guy, but are we confident that the Raiders will do everything?
No, they can definitely screw it up for sure. They can definitely
drafting the players around him, finding the roster correctly. Even if they hit the quarterback, it still might not work.
Drew,
out.
But here's the thing: the quarterback. Are we sure? Cincinnati, and I don't mean this to like pick on you because you're a Bengals fan. They are one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. They're terrible. They've been terrible at it for years. They're cheap.
I think
they have a tiny scouting staff. They drafted the quarterback. They were in the Super Bowl in year 2. That's how done. Like, I mean, it really is like, I don't want to oversimplify it the way I think in a weird way like he is. He's saying all these guys are going to look at each other and say, how can we not be that? How can we not turn it around that quick? Because the very first thing you have to do is the hardest thing to do, which is, can you get elite level quarterback play or incredibly good quarterback play immediately? I don't want to signify, because Mike McDonald was a clear upgraded coach, and Vrabel was a clear upgrade. And those obviously matter too. And Signetti is obviously a great coach. It's the reason why they all did it in year 2 is they had the combination. The reason why so many teams did it together all at once is coach quarterback got switched, and that made a massive difference.
I think it's interesting, though, because, like, if Drake May wins the Super Bowl, are we going to put him in top 5? Some people will, but based on the play, he has not played that good in the playoffs.
Not in the playoffs. We've talked
regular
about season MVP candidate.
So I think that's part of the conversation is you have to get, in order for it to happen in 2 years, you have to have a quarterback that is top 5 after 2 seasons, which we rarely see. Like Tua was a solid quarterback. It hasn't panned out.
I mean, Sam Darnold's not a top 5 quarterback in football.
Yeah. I think you're talking about in the quick turnaround, the Mendoza.
In terms of
like Joe Burrow,
in terms of
Drake
the year
May.
2 of them being in the NFL like turnaround, 10. I think you have to be in that. You have to be of that ilk where, like, Fernando Mendoza might be very good, but I don't know if that means the turnaround's there. Even if they hire like Clint Kubiak is the odds-on favorite right now, I think, or whoever to get the Raiders job. I don't know if it's going to transition that quickly, even if Fernando Mendoza is the guy. But I think you're right in terms of the likelihood of it happening, significantly higher if you find that quarterback. That ultimately is the key, regardless of who the coach is.
I will be honest, like every team in college football, Kansas, Missouri, all of them, I guarantee you every single one of them sat in a meeting and said, hey, how do we do that?
Hire the right coach is where it starts,
Anybody got any ideas? Because they just took Indiana to a national championship and won it. 2 years after he took off
you need to hire the right
program.
coach. I don't know if
they all lost a lot of their excuses though too.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. Like, don't tell me, it can't be done here. We can't. No.
Kansas State's the most likely to do it.
I do think part of the story, and we don't have to rehash this, but not every university athletic department does have the type of money now and Mark Cuban backing them, which is a notable thing to mention in this whole world.
It took 2 years for them to get the backing, which I think is where K-State is. That's why I think K-State, real quick, that's why I think K-State is the team to do it, because what is Lance Leipold giving you to make you think that he can turn the thing around now if he hasn't done it already?
With all due respect to Colin Klein, I love the hire, but like, what has he done to suggest that he can do it?
No, but he hasn't been a head coach. Lance Leipold has done.
But you're saying that they're already in a better position. How?
Yes, because I think in terms of what they needed, and they also, mind you, have the quarterback play to get it done quickly. Like
Avery Johnson's not going to be there 3 years from now, right?
But if he if they get to the playoff this year, do you think
that's possible this year?
Yes. If you look at the schedule, they have the easiest schedule out of any of the locals.
Who's the richest Kansas State alumni?
They have the easiest schedule out of any of the locals.
Because Cuban wasn't given any money
that's
until
what I'm saying.
They got good.
It took 2 years. Mark Cuban finally gave them money this year. He didn't give them money last year.
So it took a year.
No, 2 years.
No, because after 1 year, he gave it for year two.
Mark Cuban gave them money just recently.
For this year, as in year two.
No, we're going on year 3. Year 2's already over. Mark Cuban didn't give IU money for year 2. He gave them money for.
We're talking about how quickly
from here on out. If Colin Klein
Mark Cuban did not write a check the first time yesterday.
He wrote it during the playoff.
No, I think
he said he's like they like the check. He said they like the check better this year. He wrote a check in year 2.
Oh well, sure, but I think regardless, the point's still the same. It took a year for them to buy in. If Colin Klein makes the playoff this year, you just see how much money K-State fans,
we're just taking a massive leap. We're taking a massive leap though, and just assuming they're in the college football. That's all. That's my only point. You're like we're acting like
that. In the playoff. I said they have the best chance. I said they have the best chance because the schedule's most manageable.
The best chance of who?
Becoming Indiana.
Of everybody in the entire country?
No. Of the locals.
Okay, so we're comparing two schools. Okay, fine.
We are talking about
we
three
got
schools
We thought
right
you
now.
were talking about. We thought you were talking about the entire country. Kansas State.
If we're talking about the country, there's just an article out from ESPN that says Oklahoma State is, which I 100% agree with, actually. Oklahoma State is the team that you're going to put up there.
I got you.
Out of all the locals, if K-State makes the playoff this year, because they have the quarterback, that they will be very well positioned going forward because the conference they play in, and they're going to get the buy-in. Where KU is not in that spot, and Missouri is not in that spot.
Look, I'm not trying to convince you Kansas is going to the college football playoff. This is not me arguing that by any means. I would just push back. Curt Cignetti, as you have reminded us over and over, had success everywhere he's been as a head coach. Colin Klein's in year one ever as a head coach. I love the hire, and I think it'll end up working out very well. But I don't think there's a comp between the two whatsoever. As you admitted, Colin Klein's never been a head coach.
Yeah, I never said
so
that
in
he
his
would be
first
Curt
year as a
Cignetti.
head coach, that he's going to take him to the college football playoff.
They are
is
more
a bit much.
likely than Missouri or Kansas
Sure,
to make
fine.
it
We're comparing two
because
schools.
they have the better roster and they have the quarterback. And if they make it, they also have a more manageable schedule.
Yeah,
if they go 10-2 and they make the
upcoming
playoff,
year, Drew. Like for what? That's not even going out on much of a limb. There, like for 1 year, sure, yes.
I'm not
between
saying
two
I'm
schools.
not trying to go on a limb. I'm trying to provide a comp that people can understand here instead of bringing up Oklahoma State because nobody cares here about Oklahoma State. Otherwise, I would have said Oklahoma State from the jump. You want a good comp? Eric Morris at Oklahoma State is your Curt Cignetti comp. That's the comp.
I didn't know that is. No way I could have named their coach.
He had a good year at North Texas. Got hired.
Oh, okay. Congrats, Eric Norris.
He is the second best
Norris
portal.
or Morris?
Morris. He is the top 5 portal class in the country.
All right, let's get to trash.
Trash of the day.
All right, we go overseas for this one. We go to the UK, and it has to do with an 80-year-old man who won the lottery. 80-year-old, he won $3.3 million in the lottery. You'd think he'd be feeling pretty good about that situation.
That's it for me. I'm out of here, fellas.
He won the lottery in 2010, and instead of just living life for a while and all this money, he decided to use his winnings to construct a sophisticated lab in the stables opposite his home. So he turns his lottery winnings and
Into a
decided,
drug lab?
Yep, he decided to make counterfeit medication, they allege. Police raided a van that was nearby, and they found 2.6 million counterfeit tablets of a certain drug worth up to $7 million.
Oh, so this guy was an entrepreneur. He's turning his $3 million into $300 million. I'm not saying it was illegal entrepreneurship, but that's what it sounds like. They said it had the street value of 288 million pounds in this article.
Uh-huh.
Woo! I mean, look.
This is just pure greed. You win the lottery and you're out here saying, no, I'm going to become a
drug kingpin?
Yeah.
Like if Walter White gets $3 million immediately, I think he just hangs it up. I don't think I don't know. I mean, based on the way that show goes, maybe this might be exactly what Walter White would have done in that. It says he's now 80, has a significant criminal record, but denied any knowledge of the conspiracy. But at 80 years old, dude, you had $3 million and you were in your 70s? And you thought, what if I become a drug kingpin? You had enough money to live the rest of your life. You didn't have to become a drug kingpin. Could have just lived off of everything else.
16 and a half years in prison now.
That's what he's going to get?
Yeah, he was convicted of drug offenses, jailed for 16 and a half years this week.
A lot of younger people got
80,
convicted with him.
He's 80. It's over. It's over, man. You're done.
I mean, did he at least get to enjoy some of that money?
He won the lottery in 2010, and he just now got convicted. So
16 years. And he had even more money by the time he was done based on this drug conspiracy.
So for 10 years, he was living large, yeah.
Man, that's crazy. It's 70 years old winning $3 million and then deciding to do that. That makes no sense. Why? I mean, who talked you in? You just thought, start a shop or something. Buy a FedEx franchise. What the hell are you doing? If you wanted to be an entrepreneur and start a business, that's fine. You got $3 million. You could certainly don't get in the restaurant game. That's a dangerous one. But everything else, there's a lot of job options.
One other one real quick, rapid fire trash of the day. This one in Vancouver. They found a stolen 53-foot trailer. Police in British Columbia seized this trailer, and they're trying to figure out who this large quantity of literally kitchen sinks belongs to. The whole trailer full of kitchen sinks. And the registered owner of the trailer confirmed the sinks do not belong to him. Police believe the property may have been unreported stolen goods. We believe these sinks may have been stolen and are asking the owner to come forward. So a whole 53-foot trailer just full of sinks, and nobody knows who it is.
So if nobody claims it, does this go up in I've never been to one, but I think we should go to one because it'd be fun. Is this go to a police auction?
How long does it have to be unclaimed for that?
I don't know, a year? I don't know
what the time frame is on that.
Anybody know how police auctions work? I think it'd be fun for us to go to a police auction. Let's see what kind of stuff we can get.
What are you hoping to find?
I don't know. That's what I think.
I've seen the police auction, even
it's not a car.
For cars, they've had them for cars. Yeah.
I'm looking for I want items for a police auction. They don't just destroy all that stuff, right? I assume that it just goes up for auction.
Well, yeah, they're not going to take sledgehammers to the porcelain sinks here or whatever. No.
I assume eventually you'd be able to maybe get a good deal on a sink.
I mean, unless those were obtained, illegally in their own right, then why wouldn't some company come forward and say, yeah, you know what? We actually had a shipment go missing 6 months ago of a bunch of sinks that were supposed to make their way
to...
Yeah,
if you stole them, you're not going to admit it.
Someone says, would you guys call this a sunken cost? They said sinking cost, but I knew what they meant. Nice try. Nice try on the text line. Good effort.
I'm trying to figure out the kind of things you can get at a police auction. Obviously, cars, motorcycles, they say electronics, jewelry. You imagine you get Drew a new chain at the police auction?
You think he wants a chain from there?
Drew would absolutely wear a chain. He might now. I don't know. Drew, do you wear a necklace?
Yeah, I wear a necklace every day.
Every day? It's always under your shirt.
Yeah, I never.
Can I ask a question?
A lot of people wear it that way, though.
Yeah, but I'm asking. This is not criticism. This is an actual point of inquiry. What is the point of wearing the necklace if no one can see it?
Depends on what the meaning is. Some people have its meaning. It's for them. It's not for you.
Okay, if it's a cross or whatever, or a star, fine. But if it's any other just decorative necklace, why wear it if no one sees it? What's the point of the jewelry?
I don't know what Drew's necklace is.
I
wouldn't wear a watch under my fork. If it's not to show off, then what is the point of it? If it's not as an accessory to show,
well, again, because it might be somebody might have personal meaning to that person.
But if it doesn't have that, if Drew doesn't say it had personal meaning,
he
just wears it as a fashion thing and nobody sees it.
Then why do we wear no-show socks? Because it's an accessory, Why are we wearing no-show socks?
That's a completely different thing. That's apples to oranges.
Okay.
That's like saying why wear underwear for cleanliness. I mean, there's lots of reasons. There are reasons why I wear clothes that people can't see, but to wear a necklace every day that gets tucked into your shirt and nobody ever sees it.
I mean, if you want me to wear the necklace out, if you think I can wear the necklace out, it's fine.
This isn't even this is not a criticism. What is the purpose behind your necklace? Is it a fashion thing? Do you like the way it looks? Why do you wear it? That's a very real question I'm asking.
It might have personal meaning.
Yeah.
If that's what it is,
I don't need a Cuban link or whatever, that shines. Believe me, if I had a Cuban link that shine, I would definitely be wearing it.
But what is the personal reason for why you wear it?
It's a cross necklace.
Yeah.
It's a what?
It's a cross necklace.
Okay, so it's a cross. That makes sense.
It's a faith thing.
But that's fine. I didn't know if yours was a cross. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
In fairness.
All right.
It's always under the shirt.
That's the trash
Keep
of the day.
it close to my chest, if you know what I'm saying.
I got you. All right, we'll get to the Chiefs Red half hour. Let's talk more about a wide receiver that was thrown out there for the Chiefs. I don't know if it makes sense for the receiver, and I don't think it makes sense for the Chiefs either. So what are we doing? We'll explain it next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey, it's Alex Gold, and coming up on Tuesday, February 10th, everyone from the station will be hosting the Chiefs Off-Season Show, starting at 9 a.m. Bob, Dusty, Cody, C-Dot, and myself will all be in studio and on camera for 2 hours talking about what went wrong in 2025, the Chiefs' biggest needs in free agency, and who should they be targeting in the upcoming NFL Draft. The Chiefs Off-Season Show, starting at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, February 10th, right here on your home for Chiefs football, 96.5 The Fan.
Doug. There's nowhere I wouldn't go to help someone customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual, even if it means playing in a football game. Boom! 42! You're going down, Doug! Oh, yeah? Your price on car insurance when you customize and save is going down. Hey! Limu? What are you doing on their team? Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
What would you say was the biggest factor in getting that win tonight?
I mean, you said it. I think that was it for me. Factor. I was feeling strong. Had plenty in the tank for overtime.
Wait, Factor, like the meals?
Yeah, Factor meals. I've been getting Factor high-protein meals delivered all month. I get all the power I need. They taste great, and they're ready to eat in 2 minutes.
Okay, I need to get on that.
For real. Go to factormeals.com. It's the easiest way to eat like a pro.
Did you hear? Allstate car insurance now costs even less. So when you bundle with home, you can save even more. Check Allstate first to bundle and save with a new lower auto rate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
Car, truck, or motorcycle wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
People getting after you, Cody. They said you were giving Drew the third degree over a necklace. You were. There was a pretty strong questioning over a necklace.
If it has personal,
it was pretty strong questioning.
If it has personal meaning, especially like a lot of people who wear like religious insignia, it's fine.
But you were like,
I get it.
You were interrogating him over the necklace.
Why are you not wearing it outside of your? Yeah.
He didn't have an answer for the question. Like genuinely, if you just wear like, let's say like a Cuban chain or whatever, and you wear it under your shirt, I'm having a hard time understanding why anyone
they want to
would
do
wear
it.
something
It's just their own thing.
That nobody, like, I guess it's just like it would be like just wearing like a piece of string around my chest that nobody sees, and I wear it. I just didn't understand it. I was trying to understand.
That's the way you're comping it to, as if I had a string tied around my chest, essentially. That
it'd be the same if it can't be seen.
Well, we don't need to go through the whole conversation again. I was just saying, hey, people are giving you a hard time. I don't want to rehash the whole thing. I was just saying, text line's getting after you for giving them the third degree.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it. He just kept saying, "I like it."
It did feel like an interrogation. At one point, it was.
You were. Did you or did you not buy the necklace?
Show me the necklace.
All right, let's talk some Chiefs football. Let's please talk some Chiefs football. So I was driving home yesterday. I was listening a little bit to the afternoon show, and Carrington brought up Mike Evans. We all know a guy that's had a Hall of Fame career. Up until this year, he had nothing but 1,000-yard season. I think it was 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He just finished his 12th year in the league, all with Tampa. And the reports out of Tampa are that it's less likely than ever that he returns to the Bucs. Less than a 50% chance that he goes there, and that he's looking to be on a contender. And we can play the audio again from last summer on NFL Network where Mike Evans acknowledged that he thought even last year he might end up on a team like the Chiefs. And so there's two parts to this that I don't think make a whole lot of sense. One, Mike Evans, if I'm the Chiefs, is it a one-year deal or multi-year deal? He turns 33 in August. So before the season even starts, 33-year-old wide receiver. Going to be a Hall of Famer, but I just wonder, are you grabbing on to the very end of a Hall of Famer's career? He played 14 games a year ago, 8 games this year. Are we now starting to see Father Time catch up from a health standpoint, right? And so that's my concern. I also would only be interested in maybe you could talk me into a one-year deal. That's it. No way on a multi-year deal. And then from the Mike Evans side, honestly, I know we don't think the Chiefs are just falling off a cliff for years here, and certainly I don't, and neither do you, but a year or two ago, in terms of the free agent thinking, I'm going there just to win a ring thing, and Mike Evans already does have a ring, but that doesn't feel like that's the vibe going into this season. The Chiefs have the seventh best odds to win the Super Bowl. Certainly could be far worse than that. To me, they're a team that will be fighting for a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to be one of the top 2 teams in the AFC next year. Although, in fairness, it's January 30th. Let's see what the offseason looks like. So I don't know if Mike Evans wants Kansas City the way he did a year ago. And I don't know if Mike Evans makes sense if you're the Chiefs, given suddenly you want them to sign a guy that might only end up playing for 10 games next year. I don't know about that.
I'll take the latter part, or the part you mentioned about the ring stuff first. I do still think that if you're a person ring chasing, and you say, what are the organizations that give me the best chance to do that? Chiefs have got to be in your list. I'm like, look, it's maybe not the whole list.
Is Mahomes playing right away? There's a lot of questions. We don't know if he's playing week 1.
I still think it's top 5 on the list. Just because of their history, where they've been, and, I think that reasonable minds can differ on that. You and I vary on how close we think they are to a Super Bowl contending team next year. And so, I think Mike Evans could look at this team and say, nah, they're close enough. We can definitely still get there, and they're bouncing right back. So that part, I think, is yeah, I get it. Maybe there's some other teams and some better fits and some more targets on better teams, or teams that he thinks are equally as close or whatever that could be a fit. But I don't think Kansas City's out of the question. I am only really, truly interested if Travis Kelce retires.
That does change things. Yep.
If he retires, I think I can make a very easy and very strong argument. Because let's say they don't take a wide receiver at 9, which is more than likely probably the case, because all those defensive linemen that they will probably be more interested in. If they don't take a wide receiver at 9, any wide receiver they take after 40 is a real risk of not being a full-time player for them anyway. Rashee Rice did in his rookie year have 938 yards receiving. He was their leading wide receiver. Travis Kelce was their leading receiver in general. But he was immediately their best wide receiver option on the field. So that can happen at 40. But it is certainly way, 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 way less and lower on the list as a possibility. Look at a guy like Jalen Royals or Sky Moore or McCole Hardman or all these other guys who've taken in the second, third, fourth rounds who get on the field but are part-time players. So if there's no Kelce, and he essentially replaces Kelce's number, he's a one-year deal for $10 to $12 million, I'm in. I'm interested at that. But it is a very thin window in which you could talk me into Mike Evans. It's not a no for me. It's not a hard no. But it feels like a lot of things got to fall in place before I'm interested even.
Yeah, one-year deal for starters. And I don't know if some other contender out there is desperate enough to say, no, you know what? We'll give you that second year. We'll deal with